This began with Colin Kaepernick, the quarterback, sitting out the American national anthem as a sort of lone protest against the treatment of black people and police brutality in the States. You wrote an open letter to him, didn't you? Not condemning that particular protest, but suggesting it could be done in a different way. What did you say to him? What had you felt when you saw him sit during the national anthem?
Oh, I was hurt. I was greatly hurt because of what that anthem means to me. You know, the relationship I have with the flag. And honestly, in that letter, I just kind of told him about my experiences, what I've went through in service to country and fighting alongside, you know, people of all different colors and races for people in another country who I don't necessarily, you know, agree with some of the customs and cultures. But anyway, through that letter, he reached out to me, and we ended up sitting down for a couple of hours and talking about this whole thing. And through that conversation, I expressed to him, maybe there's a different way to demonstrate where you're showing, you know, more respect for those that laid down their lives for what that flag and anthem stands for. Because to me, sitting just looks so passive, like you didn't care. You know, it could be interpreted so many different ways. But I thought maybe we could find another way. So through that conversation, we kind of came to sort of a middle ground together where we agreed that I suggested, you know, kneeling might be another way to do that because people need to kneel to pray. They, you know, will kneel in front of a fallen brother's grave. So that's how that all came about. And you know, I thought it was still a demonstration, but a sign of respect and also showing that he was willing to give a little bit and listen. I can't speak for the entire veteran community. I won't pretend to do that because there are a lot of veterans, and rightfully so, who are still upset with the knee, and they do see that as disrespectful, but that's their opinion, that's their viewpoint on it. To me, you know, I think I understand why it's being done at that time. I don't necessarily agree with it even, but that's a right that I fought for. You know, that's what does make America great. The fact that you can express yourself in various ways, and we have those freedoms and rights, and because of our military, you know, we're granted those things. But you may not like everything that happens, but that's what a free country does. Where I think it's going to go is hopefully to a place of unity eventually, and I think we're kind of getting there, believe it or not. I think through all this, you know, that's one thing we do as Americans, we do very well, is we come together in these times of crisis. And the NFL this last week seemed to unify more than they had in years. Our NFL commissioner and the head of the Players Association, who are always at odds, are on the same page about something finally.
How does America start to unify in a better way from a racial perspective?
Listening. It really comes down to that. It's really quite simple. Swallowing some pride, you know, coming at these situations with a little bit of humility, and honestly, I'm going to challenge the African American community to be the bigger man here, you know, and kind of set that example, because I think they absolutely can. And a lot of these athletes that are kneeling should be leading the way in that. And you look at, you know, LeBron James and Donald Trump kind of had a back and forth a couple days ago about this whole thing. I would love to see those two guys sit in a room and just have a conversation and just try to listen and genuinely listen for a little bit to each other. Yeah. I don't know if it'll happen. It probably won't. But that's where it's going to start. And it's going to start with, you know, with people just putting their arms down for a minute and stop shouting so much and just, you know, feeding into this hate. We just love to hate right now.
Well,
and it's kind of disgusting. And it seems like we only come together when we have a hurricane or something. And that's just really frustrating when you fight for your country and you come back to such a divided place.
And I think, you know, there are a lot of people, you know, you say that you want someone to show that they're the bigger man. I think there'll be a lot of people looking at what the president is saying about this and wondering why he keeps repeatedly talking about disrespecting the national anthem and the flag and the anger over that, but is not expressing any sort of understanding, publicly in his tweeting at least, about the issue that these men are protesting about the injustice, about their feelings about treatment, about the brutality. And do you not think that in some senses it should be President Trump who now has to show himself the bigger man and accept that there is a reason behind what is a growing protest?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, absolutely. Do I think that will happen? Probably not. But, you know, and I think a lot of the problem stems from a large amount of his dedicated following doesn't think that there is a problem with racial inequality. They don't believe that, or at least they say they don't believe that. So I think, you know, it's feeding into that existing backing that you already have, and, you know, giving those people what they want to hear and getting them fired back up again, almost like we're already in another election. I mean, that's what it feels like. And at this point, I'm just like, man, you know, Mr. President, you won the job. Let's be presidential now, and let's work together. Let's really try to bring this country together. Let's give it a genuine effort and reach across to people that you don't agree with and you think are wrong, and just say, you know what? Let me hear you out, and maybe we can come to some kind of agreement, solution, and understand that we're really not that different. We probably want the same things at the end of the day.
Hallelujah.
Well said.
And you did a brilliant thing when you wrote that letter and when you met Colin Kaepernick. And we thank you for your service as a Green Beret and actually for the service you're doing now in being the unifying voice here. So appreciate you joining us. Thank you.
I appreciate that. As veterans, both British and American, we need to keep serving in some way. That's what makes us feel whole, so I'm proud to do it.
Good for you, Nate. Nice to talk to you.